Welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. I'm your host, Belinda Sandor. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. I'm thrilled to have you here today. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'm Belinda Sandor. I'm the founder of the VA Connection. And the VA Connection is where I coach and mentor new, aspiring, and established virtual assistants to really create, grow, and scale businesses as virtual assistants. And I work with my students in my free online community, my courses, and my coaching programs. So today we're going to talk about, today I'm going to be your host for Lessons from the Cockpit. And this is a show that we do weekly where I give tactical and practical advice for your virtual assistant business. And I'd love to hear where you're coming in from. You guys know the drill. Here I see you already. So Frederica is here from Amsterdam and Carrie is here from Iowa. Hello to Tori in South Carolina. Good morning. This is Tammy from Minnesota. Hello from Maryland. Hello, hello, hello. This is great. And we have a lot of people here. So I'm very excited. So, we're streaming everywhere. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, click that subscribe button so that you'll be notified of all of our free training. Okay. And we have at least 2 sessions a week. We have even more going on next week, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So today we're going to talk about how to make the most of networking. All right. But before we dive in, I'm going to introduce myself for a minute, and then we're going to talk about both sides of networking. What happens, how can you prepare yourself? What happens in the room and what happens after the event? We're going to dive in deep. Okay, good. So we've got Sherry is here from Iowa and Susie is here from Copenhagen. Hello, Tammy in Maine. We've got Gladys in Kenya and Teresa is in Maryland. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, good. So this is me and my daughter, and believe it or not, today is her 22nd birthday. Very exciting. She's going to a concert with her boyfriend in Washington, D.C. So a lot has changed for both of us in this amount of time, right? So when I started my path as a virtual assistant back when we were in this picture, it was a pretty scary time. And it was scary because I'm someone who likes to know. I like to know what's happening next. I'm a big planner. I've got my whole day planned. I've got my week planned. And when I was staring at 50 years old, was coming up and I didn't have a plan and nothing looked the way I thought it was going to look, that was scary. I have always had expectations. I set goals like by the time I'm 30, I want to do this. By the time I'm 40, by the time I'm 50. And the goals that I had set for, the big 5-0 seemed like I was on track, and so when, it wasn't like all of a sudden woke up, but it did kind of all come together at one time for me. I thought I would be, happily married, a homeowner. I would be saving for retirement because I had been doing that all along, and instead what happened was, I was getting a divorce. I had to sell my home because I hadn't paid the mortgage in a year, and it's really the kind of thing where you think, okay, this month it'll be different. It's going to be different this month. I know it's going to be different because, I'm doing something new. I'm trying something, whatever. And, but I went from having this plan to zero financial security. I blew through the savings trying to make a business work that just didn't work out. And I had 6 figures of debt and I, hadn't paid the taxes for 7 years. And it's because I just kept telling myself, okay, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. And that's a scary place to be. And I know that there are some of you that are watching there that are in that place right now where, you're thinking, okay, next month, all right, it'll pull together or I'll make a change. And then the time just keeps going by, again and again and again. And it really took me making a change to stop this pattern. It really took me making a change. And it was, the change was all about really, for the first time, listening to myself and what I wanted to do, and to stop twisting myself around to be what everybody else wanted. That was huge for me. And it didn't happen overnight, but starting it did. It was like I woke up one day and I just thought to myself, you don't have to be this unhappy anymore. You don't have to be this unhappy. And I just started looking around and just making changes. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I was really determined because because I wanted Emily to grow up from a place of abundance. I didn't want her to be worried about me, or worried about, literally I was worrying about getting food, and where are we going to live? And I was paying the rent in two different payments, because I couldn't get the money together for one rent payment at a time. And thankfully my landlord was really gracious about it. But, the thing is that I wanted us to have a life where I could take care of her. So when I looked around and I sort of took stock of everything that was going on, I thought, all right, you know what? I'm good at admin work. I like it. I was a secretary back in the dark ages. I knew that getting a job wasn't going to work, and it wasn't going to work for a couple of reasons. One reason it wasn't going to work was because I wanted to be with Emily. I didn't want her to be shuttled around. I saw what a struggle that was for the kids and the moms, especially moms who were single, trying to balance all that. So I thought, I've got to figure out a way to work from home. And so I decided I was just going to tell everybody that I knew that I was doing admin work. And my first client, I literally got at the school bus stop. He asked me what was new. And I said, I'm starting this business, doing admin work. Don't have any clients yet, figuring it out. And he was thrilled. He had started a business a month or so before. I had no idea that he had done that. And what's interesting is I probably wouldn't have told him what I was doing, which is ridiculous. But, we're all like that. We're going to talk about a little bit about that today when we talk about networking. But, so I went to work with him as a virtual assistant. That job wasn't virtual, but it was as his assistant. And I did things I knew how to do. I paid his bills. I set up his QuickBooks. I organized his inbox. Everyday things that he needed to have done because he wanted to be focusing on different parts of his business. So for those of you who are prospecting, and we'll talk about that in a minute too, you can just take yourself off the job. You don't need to prospect. You just need to tell everybody that you know. And it's much simpler. It's much easier. It's substantially less stressful when you look at networking and telling people about your work in this way. Okay. All right. So let's jump in. And what I want you to know though, is that, at the core of all of this whole spreading the word about your work, it really pays off. It really pays off because I've been a virtual assistant since 2010. I've worked with over 220 clients. And the first year I was in business, I made $70,000. And every year for the next 10 years, I made $100,000 as a virtual assistant. And it's amazing what you can do working from home. It is just amazing. And here's what it looks like today. So I did sell my home. I got divorced. I had all those back taxes to file, which I did. Entered all kinds of crazy payment plans and walked through those doors. And now things are different. They are really different. I can breathe again. I have, there are parts of this that I'm still working on, like the taxes, but I know when they're going to be paid off, and it's not very long from now. And it's been a road, it's definitely been a road, but at the core of it was starting to make decisions from what I wanted, where I wanted to be. And so I married the man of my dreams at 60, right? So here we are a couple of years ago on our wedding day with all of our kids. And it's not too late to get started. It's not too late to get started, no matter where you are or what it looks like. Okay. So let's talk about networking. Okay. Now, I know this is a topic with a lot of emotion attached to it, right? A lot of emotion. Many of us wish that this didn't exist, that we didn't have to do this. And so I want to talk about a mindset shift first, okay? Because networking, it's not about selling. You're not going to network to sell. You're not trying to convince someone to hire you, right? You're not pushing yourself on someone. Networking is none of this, all right? That is not networking. Networking is a gathering of entrepreneurs who want to meet other entrepreneurs, okay? And it's not that different from going to a meeting with people who have the same hobby as you, okay? So when you think about it, let's say your hobby is, backyard chickens like me, okay? I could talk about the best food. I could talk about my coops. I could talk about, my favorite breed. I could talk about the pecking order. I could talk about all these things that are interesting to me and to the person I'm talking to because we have this hobby. Now, if you think about being an entrepreneur, you have a lot of things in common with other entrepreneurs, whether they're financial planners or nutritionists or, marketing consultants. You have a lot in common with them because the core of how the business works is really pretty much the same. So when you're an entrepreneur, you can talk about credit card processing. You can talk about a fun project you're working on, like balancing, the financial records of one of your clients or doing a PowerPoint presentation. You can talk about how excited you are that you got your Calendly link on your website and then that it's making it so much easier for people to get in touch with you. So you can talk about your business, right? And you can ask other people, what they're working on. And here's the thing, this hashtag stop talking, this goes a long way. You want to listen more than you talk, and that is a superpower of ours, right? So the goal of the meeting is to make connections with the people there, to learn about their business and to tell them about yours. That's really what it is. So any other stuff that's going on in your head, now other people will show up to these events and act very salesy, and it will feel a little uncomfortable, transactional, but that's okay. That's because they're in their head. You don't have to go there with them. And just because you don't feel that way doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means you're doing it differently, right? You're doing it differently. Now, the goal here is to make connections and learn about other people's businesses and tell them about yours. Now, for the students that are here that are in VA school, you know how to do that. If you've attended the Kickstart Challenge in the past, you know how to do that. If you haven't done either one of those, you're going to have a chance next week to attend the Kickstart Your VA Business training that we're going to have, a 5-day training, and I'm going to teach you exactly how to talk about your work there. So it's very simple. You want to boil it down to a couple of sentences that are easy to understand, easy to remember, so that they can remember. Right? That's the whole key. Oh yeah, Belinda, she's a virtual assistant. Oh yeah, she does like admin stuff, like PowerPoint and website. And people will remember. So that's the whole goal of this. It's not to be the smartest person in the room. It's not to throw around, big words like, oh yeah, I work with, marketing consultants on their, their ClickFunnels or their automation or their, I project manage, blah, 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 blah. You don't want to say that because people don't know what it means and they're probably not going to ask. And the reason they're not going to ask is because they feel like they should know and they don't want to expose themselves, right? Just like you. So you want to tell them about your work and talk about things that everybody knows about so that they're like, oh yeah, I wonder if you do this and do you do that? And then you start a conversation because that's what this is about. It's about a genuine conversation. It's not about, like I said, selling or trying to get them to hire you in that moment. Okay, good. So now the more that you do this, the easier it becomes, although I always have a very mild anxiety adrenaline push as I walk into the room. In fact, I don't do this anymore, but I used to go to the bathroom before I went into the networking room. I'd leave the car, go to the bathroom, look in the mirror. Okay, you've got this, go get them, and then go into the networking event. So if you have little sort of rituals that you want to do before you go in the room, do that. One of my friends goes early to the events, which I never would have thought of. And the reason he does that is because he'll be the first one, so that he's not walking into the room. So as people walk into the room, he's met the organizers because they're there, and somehow that relieves the pressure for him. So you can also go with a friend. But if you go with a friend, you don't want to stand over in the corner and just talk to your friend. You and your friend need to have promised each other that you're going to meet new people, because that's the whole point. Okay, good. So a best practice in networking is to find a group that you like and attend it over and over and over. Because what's going to happen is you're going to make friends. And you're not going to be walking into this cold room where you don't know everyone. You're going to be walking in and saying, "Oh, hello, hello, hello." And then you'll see people in town, or you'll see them at another networking event. And so you start to build this community of sort of business connections and friends. Okay. And so that's what happens. All right. So I want to talk about your strategy. Okay. So, and it makes it easier for me to attend events, or frankly, to do anything, if I understand what the goal is. And the goal here is to, to make new friends, make connections. When I say friends, I mean business friends, like people who know about you, and you're interested in that level. Now, one thing, and I know you guys wouldn't do this, but I'm just going to say it out loud. You want to show up to these events happy. You want to show up to these events with no matter what happened on the way or for the last 10 weeks, this is not the place to bring it. This is not the place to talk about, what's happening in your marriage, or, that some guy cut you off and he's such a jerk. This is a place to be positive, excited, friendly, relatable, approachable, all of those things. All right. Because you're going to connect with the people there that have the same energy as you. That's just something that naturally happens. And so you want to make sure you're connecting with people who are all of those things. Right. So it might be confusing sometimes, when we start to make business friends, and you will have business friends that become like real friends, call in the middle of the night, tell them what's going on. They help you friends. But for the most part, when I'm networking, it's kind of a surface level situation, where, someone might say, "How are your chickens?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're doing great. We lost one last week. It was kind of sad. But everybody else is doing okay." So it's not that you're not telling the truth. It's just that I could have told the entire story of going to the vet and putting her down and like all the things. You don't want to do that. You want to keep it at a different level of communication. All right. Now, I suggest having business cards and handing them out during the event as appropriate. And one of the things you want to do is make sure that the cards are at your fingertips. I always carry these big purses. And if your cards are at the bottom and you're doing this like face dive to look for the card, the person's probably going to say, "That's okay. That's okay." So just have it in the top pocket. If you're at a networking event with one of those name tag things, you can, tuck them in there. A lot of people do that, and they're just like, "Here you go." So make it simple for you and the other person for you to give them your card. Okay. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people go to networking events and they get dressed and they put on their pantyhose or whatever, and they go and they have a great time. And then they drive home and they're like, "Yay, me, I did that. That's so awesome." And then they don't think about it again. That is a big waste of time. Okay. Because so the first thing I want you to know is that that's what most people are going to do. That's what most people are going to do. And the result is that the connections are not furthered. The relationships are not deepened. You're not staying in front of them. And, we learned that in the Kickstart Challenge, and we're going to talk about that next week too, is the simple success formula. So that is, stay in touch with the people, talk about your business in a clear, concise way so that they remember and understand, repeat, so you're just telling people about your business over and over and over. So you want to be proactive and you want to get in touch with them. I bet everyone here today has a big stack of cards somewhere, unless you recently got rid of them, which I did, of people that you met at trade shows or here or there, or lunch or at the bookstore, and you never followed up with them. You have no idea who they are. And, I like to think about those cards as being $100 bills. And I treat them with respect. I put them on my desk, and there's action that needs to be taken with those cards. that we're not done. We're just starting. So the first thing you want to do is you want to connect with them on social media, right? Go to LinkedIn, go to Facebook, wherever you are, at a minimum, definitely LinkedIn, and connect with them, and put in the connection request, hi, so-and-so, it was great to meet you at the event on Thursday, at wherever you were, thought it would be fun to connect here. Very simple. Okay. And so connect with all the people that you can find. If you can't find someone, it's okay. If there's someone named John Smith and you can't figure out which one it is because there's no picture or it's just too hard, that's okay. But give it a try. Okay. The next thing is pick out people that you especially like and invite them to coffee. You can invite them on Zoom. You can invite them to come to town, if you live near each other, share lunch or tea or coffee or whatever, and just get to know them. You get to know a little bit about who they are and what their business is, how they got started, and just further those relationships. Now, the thing that I want you to do, no matter what, is ask them, can you put them on your newsletter list? And yes, I know this is scary to do, but it's worth it. Because think about it this way. So you meet someone and, you say, hey, is it okay if I add you to my newsletter list? I publish every month, every couple of weeks, and you can unsubscribe at any time. But I think you might find the content useful. I think you might find the topics valuable, whatever you want to say. And yes, you can hold your breath the whole time you're doing it. I absolutely understand that that's part of it, but do it anyway. And if you chicken out, email them as soon as you get to your office. Oh my God, or your desk. Oh my gosh, I just realized I didn't ask you if I could put you on my newsletter list. Would that be okay? All right. So don't make that a habit, though, that whole chickening out thing. Sorry, chickens, because you want to get good at asking people. And getting good is just holding your breath and doing it. Just getting, practicing it. So then what I want you to do is publish your newsletter regularly. This is a system. Okay. Networking is not a standalone event. So see how this works. You go, you meet people, you get them on your newsletter list, and you publish. And now you're staying in touch with them. You get to know them a little better. You go to the networking event again. You see them. Hi, so-and-so, great to see you. And then they say to you, I got your newsletter. I loved it. You say, thank you. And then you either have a conversation about that, and you can say, I'm writing the next one. It's going to be about blah, blah, blah. What do you think? Or what do you think I should write about? I've been thinking about a couple of things, but I'd love to hear what you think. So now you're furthering that relationship, right? And it doesn't have to be big and scary. You're not bearing your soul. In fact, I don't want you to bare your soul, but I want you to just, and you guys know, you've been around me enough. I'm not a fan of chit chat. Like, I don't know how to make small talk. My nephew, a new nephew on Greg's side, was going to come and stay at our house, and Greg wasn't going to be home. And the thought of spending 2 or 3 hours talking to him, I was like, what am I going to do? And I thought, calm down. It's like, it's fine. You'll figure it out. You'll find a topic, you'll talk. But my first initial thing was holding my breath. And I'm not going to lie. Terror is too big of a word, but it was something close to that. Like, what? You're going to play paddle and he's coming and I have to, first of all, cook? Oh my, okay. So I'm cooking, which I never do. And then on top of that, feeling like there's pressure to prepare something. I'm like, we're getting pizza. Okay. And then, what are we going to talk about? How about those Mets? I mean, I went to a wedding for my nephew and I hadn't seen my niece in 100 years. And I know her about the same as I know my new nephew. And I didn't know what to say. I'm like, and neither did she. And so I didn't want to get into that again. Right. So the thing is just, keep it polite, surface, kind of thing, and you'll get through it. So it's not that I'm a master at this and I'm like, yay, networking, but you will see the benefits of it and it'll be worth it. Okay. So that's the whole system, right? You meet new people, you put them on your list, you connect with them on a deeper level. If you like them or find them pleasant, that's probably more like it, right? If you find them pleasant, and then, keep publishing that newsletter over and over. And the other thing I used to do is I had a list of people, about 60 people who I liked. Some of them were clients, some of them were not. I was not prospecting, but they were all entrepreneurs. And that's just because I was living in that zone. And every quarter I would get in touch with them. How's it going? The keep in touch email that we talk about. And, just checking in to see what's going on. And people love that. They love that. And then the other thing is you want to make it really easy for them to get on your calendar, All right. So I suggest setting up, Calendly, Acuity, putting a link at the bottom of your emails, putting a link in your newsletter, putting a link on your website, so that when they get an email from you, any kind of email, and they think, oh, I want to get on her calendar, it's easy to do. Okay. All right. So any questions, please put them in the chat. I would love to hear. It's, once you find your group, it can be a lot of fun to walk into the room and to see people and to have them come over to you and, make that connection. And if it's not natural to you at first, which it was not natural to me. In fact, I quit a job because they wanted me to network. I am not kidding you. I was, how old was I? 36 or 37. And they promoted me, and I was going to be the director of the chapter of this nonprofit. And they wanted me to network and bring in business. And I'm like, I got to go. And I quit. Oh, great question. What do you wear? Very great question. Okay. Love this. All right. So that kind of depends on where you live. Because there's different styles. Like when I lived in Boston, people were much more casual than they are where I live in Connecticut. People are pretty fancy where I live now. So what you want to do, the number one thing is you want to be comfortable and you want to wear clothes that fit. And I'm stealing this from Scarlett DeBees, who's going to be speaking at our conference, which I'm going to tell you more about in a minute. She says that all the time. And so you want to wear clothes that fit, and you want to wear clothes that you're comfortable in. And I don't mean, but here's the thing. I was going to say, I don't mean sweats, but the truth is that most of my clothes are so stretchy, even though they're like my most dressy dress, it's like I could just pull it like this, so it's very comfortable. So what I suggest is if you're not sure how dressed up to get, a pair of black pants, goes a long way with some simple shoes. And I'm not a big fan of like decorating myself with a lot of stuff, but like what I have on right now would be great with maybe a sweater, because, it might be cold in the building with the air conditioning. So a simple top, like I have a sweater that's this orange color that I could wear with black slacks and some shoes. If you feel like getting dressed up, that's cool too. You can definitely wear a dress. I'm a big fan of those little, what are those called? Sheath dresses. I have a bunch of those, and those are nice because you just put the dress on, put on some earrings, grab some shoes, and you're done. So I like that a lot. You can also, I have worn jeans before, but they're like dressy jeans with, I'll wear them with boots or something. Yeah. So it's really hot. It's really hot. So you can also, a skirt, a skirt is nice. And what I've seen lately in the department stores are blazers and shorts. I'm not sure I'm going to try that, but that could be a way to deal. You could put a tank top on, put a blazer on, take it off, until you get in the room. And because usually the places you network are air conditioned and it's comfortable, with some nice shoes. Okay. So are sandals okay? That is hysterical. All right. So I was recently listening to a podcast, and apparently sandals have it's a thing, like you're not supposed to show your toes in business settings, which I never heard of that before. So sandals are okay if they're not you just want to make sure that they're not flip-flops. Like I have some cool sandals that, have a little heel and then a little strappy thing. I think that's totally fine. You don't have to wear pumps. I like pumps because I've just, it's probably because I wore them for my entire decade of my 20s. I'm just a fan of them, but sandals are okay. You just want to make sure you look pulled together. You know what I mean? And that can mean a lot of different things. I mean, I can look pulled together with a pair of, white sandals and a pair of jeans and a top and a scarf and some cool earrings. You can definitely look pulled together, but I tend to kick it up a notch when I'm networking. I think because it makes me feel better. It makes me feel like when I'm dressed up a little. Yeah. Mel Robbins. Exactly. Yeah. That's who the podcast was about the shoes. When I take the time to pick the earrings and to pick the necklace and all that, I just feel better. I feel like it quiets imposter syndrome a little bit when I walk in the room, like I'm ready to go. So a lot of it is more to do with that than what other people think. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So Arlene says, I have a chamber networking next Wednesday morning. I'm already nervous. What do you suggest for a conversation starter? Lots of different things. Have you been to this meeting before? Have you been to this networking group before? You could say, do you live around here? What town do you live in? You could say, if you know the speaker or something, you could say, I've known the speaker for a while, or I've never met the speaker. I've never heard of the speaker. I think this topic is kind of interesting. Do you know anything about her? I'm talking just like, and then you just have a conversation, right? And it's just really about trying to get it going, right? If you want to, you could ask them if you want to, what kind of work do you do? The key is, do you hear my tone? It's conversational. I don't want to get all weird, because then they're going to get weird and everybody's already weird and freaking out. Okay. So you can be the one that's calm. You can be the one that's calm and just like, did you catch the baseball game last night? Are you a fan? It can be anything. Can be anything. I mean, I'll bring up my chickens a lot because I could talk about my chickens forever, so if someone says, what's new, I'll say, I spent all weekend putting flowers all around my chicken coops. I'm a chicken mom. Yeah. So Tori says, see if your network group has a Facebook page or website. Network groups may post pictures of previous events, which can give you an idea of how to dress. Very smart. Very, very smart. Yes. And if you're going with a friend who's already been once, ask them, what are you going to wear? I did that the other day. Someone asked me to go to a polo match in another town next to me that's very fancy. And I was like, you got to be the fashion consultant, because I have no idea what to wear to a polo match. Like, is this a hat situation, or is that just horse racing, or like, I had no idea. So, so it's okay to ask. It's okay to ask. Yeah. All right. So just remember to, walk in the room, take a deep breath, go to the bathroom if you need to beforehand, look in the mirror and just be like, you got this, boom, with a little activation energy that we learned from Mel, and take the first step and walk up to someone. And you know what, if you walk into a situation where 2 or 3 people are talking and they don't open it up to you, that's about them. That's not about you. All right. If they don't open the circle, that, I don't know what that's about, but that's definitely happened to me. It doesn't mean you should go get in your car. It just means that those people are not being really polite. Okay. So just remember that and just move over to someone else. Good, Arlene. Great. I'm glad that helped. Yeah. So take a deep breath, lean into this, and remember it's part of a system. And the majority of the system, you have 1 hour of networking or 2 hours or whatever it is. And the whole rest of the system can be done in your jammies. All right. The whole connecting on social media, the following up, the coffee chat can be on Zoom. So there is some exposure, when you're doing it in person, but you will become more comfortable. And, Tori, I'm glad that you made a comment, because Tori set a goal earlier this year to become more comfortable with networking. And so what she did was she powered through it. She kept going and kept going and kept going. And now she's doing live streams. And this is not a natural part of Tori's nature. And you guys know Tori because she's the ambassador, one of the ambassadors in the Facebook group. And there's so many, and Carrie's here. Carrie, she had a similar situation where she was like, I haven't worked. I don't know how to talk about this. And she leaned into networking. So if you just lean into it and know that everyone else is pretty much freaked out just like you, and you just be the calm one going in and asking those non-threatening questions like, did you catch the baseball game last night? Or, where do you live? Do you have any children? Do you have any kids? Or start talking about my chickens if you want to, or a hobby or something like that. It can really take a lot of pressure off, because this is just scheduled friend making. Okay. That's all this is. You're not trying to get anything from them, and they're not, well, they might be trying to get something from you. They might be there to try to sell to you, but that doesn't mean you need to buy it. You don't need to feel pressure. It's just like, watch them like TV, like, oh, wow. Okay. So they want me to buy their thing, and I'm not going to buy their thing, but you can be interested in it. And then you can say, can you excuse me? I have to go to the ladies' room. All right. Yeah. So Tori says, thank you, Belinda, for being transparent about your feelings on networking not always being comfortable for you. It gives me courage to continue to step out. That's great. Yeah. It's not comfortable. It's not. I went to 2 networking events about a month ago. after not being in an in-person networking event since before March 2020. And the whole way there, I'm practicing what I'm saying. I'm a virtual assistant. I work with solo professionals. I work with entrepreneurs, and I practice it out loud. And then the other thing that I do, you guys know the song Sugar by Adam Levine, Maroon 5, I think it is. I listen to it in the car really loud and sing multiple times. Because it just gets all the white noise and the chicken chatter out of my head. And so I am like literally cruising down the road, trying not to drive too fast because I get all revved up by that song, and just pushing the chatter away after I've practiced what I'm going to say, and then walk in the room and just do it. Okay. Good. Adam Levine, try that. Okay, good. I've gone over a little bit. Thank you for staying. I appreciate it. I want to tell you about this quickly. Before we go, we're having a conference in San Antonio in October. I'm very excited about this. I went live yesterday to talk about what this conference is and what it's not. So if you missed that, check it out. But what I want you to know is this is not a conference where people are going to come and sell to you on the stage and try to get you to buy their stuff. These men and women who are speakers for this conference are really heart-centered, really good. They're entrepreneurs and they're business owners and they're successful and they're really givers, and these are people that have mentored me as well. Michael Katz, April Pertwee, my husband will be there, Danielle Wheel, who is coming from Israel on her own nickel to speak to us about content creation. Scarlett DeBees is coming again on her own nickel from New York to Texas to talk about confidence building, and we're going to talk about clothing and all of those things and how to pull yourself together so you can walk in that room. It's all tied together, and my commitment is that this conference is really about living your best life as a virtual assistant, whatever that life is for you. And I believe that you're going to leave inspired and more courageous and ready to step into whatever that is. And that's what this conference is. It's definitely business building. It's definitely friendship making, but I am committed to making this a transformational, inspiring event where you can grow and ignite something inside of you, and the people who help me do that are there. April with telling my story, Michael Katz with encouraging me. And he's going to do 2 sessions. And so is April. One of them is going to be about how being small and being a solo entrepreneur is a superpower. It's a superpower. And then he's also going to talk about, I have the topic right here. Email newsletters that work. He has a book by that topic, and he's going to really go in much more deeply than I can. He's just a great speaker. He's really funny. And he's going to talk about that. And April's going to talk about the power of your story. Her husband is a spectacular mindset coach, Kyle. He's coming as well. So I just can't wait to see you all there and to get started. Now, the reason this is relevant right now is the early bird pricing ends on the 15th. So that's 2 days. It ends at midnight. The price is going to go up $200. So if you decide to go for the VIP experience right now, it's $695 for 2 days. That includes lunch and, a cocktail party and munchies and guacamole. And then the 1 day or a 1 day for $395. And so if you want to attend one or both of those, I don't know if I just said this or thought it. There's a payment plan that makes this very easy to manage as you get there. You can share rooms. You can stay at an Airbnb. There's many, many affordable options to make this happen for you. So I want you to decide if you want to come. And if you do, then figure out how to make it happen. Reach out to your friends. Okay. Good. Now you can find out more about this. I registered the URL TVAC, the VA connection, tvaclive.com. Click right on over there and check it out. And I'd love to see you. Okay, good. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for staying. We have all kinds of sessions. We're having a session later today. I think it's at 2 on vision boards. So if we had a little mix up, it was not posted in the VA connection. I'm sorry, in VA school. But I posted it last night. Mandy added it to your calendar yesterday. You'll get reminders of it. So if you're free at 2:00 today and you want to do a vision board, join us. It's for the VIP club and VA school. and I'd love to have you there. Okay, good, 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 good. Have a great rest of your day. Lean into action today, and put a networking event on your calendar. Okay, put a networking event on your calendar, and you'll see you've got this. All right, bye guys.